Hey everyone, today I'm going to take a look at a new OS called AcreetionOS Linux, and this is an Arch-based distro by Ben Fitzpatrick and his team of talented developers. I believe Ben pretty much developed the XFCE version, and this is the one I want to take a look at is the Acreetion, formerly known as StormOS. So now we have here in the description Acreetion StormOS XFCE, which is a great distro flavor for everyone. I agree. Also, this is available in Cinnamon, Plasma, and then 2 community editions. So here we also have the Acreetion OS Community Edition, and that actually has Hyprland and Xmonad as well. So I'm thinking that is really cool. I like the fact that we have Hyprland in here and then Xmonad, which personally I don't think I've ever seen Xmonad spin of Arch. So I'm liking that. I'm already excited about this and I haven't even got into it yet. So I'm going to go ahead and download this and let's take a look at it and see what we got. Here we are in our live desktop here on AcreetionOS, and right off the bat we get our XFCE desktop. Nice looking layout, and the installer comes right off the bat. And so here we start out with our welcome screen, and as you can see, it's a Calamares installer. I am liking that. That's my favorite installer, and a nice looking theme too. I like the purple highlighting there in the different areas such as the buttons and the window panel up there on top in the main panel. Very cool. And so I'm just going to start right off. I'm going to hit next here. And here we can see a whole bunch of different options. You can select your kernel and different drivers and so forth. And when you go to the next one, you got gaming applications, install other software, browsers, and all that. Now, if you're a new Linux user and this looks a little overwhelming, you can just skip right over it and it will still install the basics for you. So you don't have to, if you don't know what you're looking at and you don't have any clue what a V4L, 2L, loopback, DKMS is, if you don't know what it is, you don't have to check it. But if you want to install, like, say, an Office app, for example, we got LibreOffice right here, you can just go ahead and check that box and it'll install the Office for you. Otherwise, you'll get a nice minimal install and then you'll have lots of room and flexibility to install whatever you want, when you want. A very nice setup. I like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just skip over all those just to demonstrate that you don't have to check any of those boxes if you don't know what you're doing, and you'll be just fine. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to hit next here on the next button. And so here now we got our time zone, which is all good, detected by default, and so is our keyboard, so automatically detected. So hit next again. Here I'm just going to go and erase disk because I don't have any data on here that I need to worry about saving. So I'm just going to go with that because this is a fresh install. I'm going to hit next, and then next we can add in our username. So I'm just going to put in Toadwick, and then let's do a password. So I'll type in a password, and there we go. And here we got, like, use the same password. And oh, I guess that was already checked because that dropdown shouldn't show up if it's checked. It looks like the theming for some reason is like not showing the check mark there. So I think that's kind of a theming issue with whatever the default theme is on here. So I'm just going to leave it the way it is, leave the default, and we'll be fine. Excellent. So here we got a summary, and I'm all good with that. That's just kind of everything that we did. And so I'm going to hit install now. That's a reminder that it's going to erase all your data, just in case you didn't know that. And so now we're off. So AcreetionOS is now installing. So I'm going to let it do its magic and install this, and then I'll be right back when it's done. Okay, and it's all done. That didn't take long, maybe about 7 or 8 minutes. So I'm just going to hit done here, go up to start, and I'm going to just shut down here. And then I'm going to remove my U drive, and I'll be right back after that. Okay, and here I am, and it looks like everything went good. I see our start menu there, so that's off to a good start. So off we go. And like I said, this is an Arch-based distro, and I'm pretty excited about this. I've used StormOS in the past, and I really like that as well, but this Acreetion looks like the next step. So I went ahead and logged in. It looks like everything installed okay so far, knock on wood. And so here's our desktop. and things are looking good here. So let me jump up here. Under our start menu, we got our different items here, our power buttons and all that. And then we got our categories here on the right-hand side of the menu. I can see that they're switching categories just by hovering over the mouse, so I like that too. A lot of distros for some reason don't have that activated, and you got to click each category, which to me is a pain in the butt. I like being able to change the categories just by hovering. And so I'm happy to see that right off the bat. Very cool. Here's our menu items, or our panel items up here. So we got our notifications, and then we got our updater. I think I'm going to run that first. I always recommend running the updates right after you install a distro, because that way anything that you install after that is not going to really give you any headaches, because it's always good to install new software on an updated system. So I'm just going to apply that. And I like the fact that we got a graphical updater up there in the panel. So very nice. And there's our transaction summary. I'm just going to hit apply, and I'm just going to let that do its thing. And then I'm going to pause it, and I'll be back right after the pause. Okay, I'm back. And I came back after the pause. So there we go. I'm just going to restart. And now I'm back in. So very cool. Now we can press on, now that we got our updates in place. So back up here in the panel, notifications, and we have a do not disturb, so you can actually turn off notifications by clicking that button there and toggling it off. But typically I like the notifications. Here we can see our system's up to date. Then we have our Ethernet connections here, nice. And then our computer settings. So we can change that to presentation mode if you don't want the power settings on. That's our power icon, by the way. And then under settings, we can get easy access to our power manager. So it's nice that we can access it right there instead of going into our settings panel. And then here we got our audio, all our essentials, and then our volume control settings here, which is nice. By default, we can see our output devices, and we got our playback tab here. So if you were running Firefox or something, you could individually adjust it. And then here we got our panel, our clock. And when you click on the clock, you got that cool calendar. I like the XFCE calendar. That's pretty nice, actually. If I right click on the desktop, we got all kinds of items in our submenu, but I'm going to go into desktop settings because I want to take a look at the wallpaper. As you can see, all kinds of branded wallpaper, and I do like the new logo here too for AcreetionOS. I think that's really cool. Nicely done, Ben. And that one looks cool. That's Oumuamua, I think is how you pronounce that. But that was that object that was floating in space that came zipping past our planet not too long ago from a different solar system. And I like the green. And then here we got this nice one. And that's a cool picture. That almost looks like something from the James Webb telescope, possibly. Nice. And another one with beautiful colors in it. I'm still kind of leaning Oumuamua. There's a space telescope right there. Nice. I like it. And then this one's quite colorful. That's a beautiful shot. But I'm still kind of partial to Oumuamua, so I think I'm going to go with that. I like it. Very cool. So Oumuamua it is. So now if we continue up to our icons here, we got the tweak tool here. So tweak AcreetionOS. And I'm going to mark that as trusted and launch it. So this is a tweak utility, which is really nice. This is probably what I should have ran first before the updates, but you can refresh your mirrors and then system updates, of course. Then our AUR updates, keyring, all the kinds of different things you might need. You can list your hardware by installing that utility. If you know your way around Linux a little bit, this is really handy. And if you don't, and you need NVIDIA drivers, that's even handier. I like it. And then here we got our games, utility, scripts. So all kinds of things related to Steam and Lutris. We got Proton, bottles, which is like a nice front end for wine. And then other great utilities like FlameShot. That's a nice screenshot utility. Transmission for torrents. Thunderbird email client. Then we got Only Office, another Office suite that we could install. I didn't install Office during the install, so as you can see, there's no Office category here. If that's something I meant to install and I wanted to install it again, I got easy access to Only Office right here, and Only Office is a really nice Office suite. And then we got our printer drivers here, so this is a nice category. And as you can see, HP drivers are pre-installed by default. I like that, very cool. HP are probably one of the most common drivers, so I think that's very cool. Then we have Arch University. So here we got AcreetionOS XFCE Arch commands, so easy access to that. And I'm clicking it there, but it doesn't seem to be opening, so that might not be wired in yet. It is a brand new distro, so that might be yet to be wired, and by the time you see this, it probably will be. Either that or it's just an issue on my own machine too. Here we got Discord. These are our links, our About Us links and funding pages and so forth. Patreon. So if you want to become a Patreon member, there you go. You can help support the project. Also, a direct link to visiting the AcreetionOS XFCE website and the XFCE README there as well. And if we were to click on one of these, like say the XFCE website here, that should bring up our default browser and it should launch here. We also got Distro Watch, and if I click that, it brought up our browser. So it looks like Distro Watch is wired in at the moment. Maybe. Yeah, it is. Excellent. That's our direct link, and then also a GoFundMe page. So very cool. Lots of ways you can support the project here. Also a merch page I think is available. And so Merch is another good way. You can get some merchandise, support the project, and get some cool stuff at the same time. Also in our whisker menu here, we got our accessories category, and then we got development, and under development, I see even Electron is in there. That's cool. Cute widgets design. Nice. So that's pretty cool under development. I'm liking that actually. And then if we go under here, past development, next under graphics, we got our image viewer. So very minimal install, which is understandable. I didn't check any of the boxes there. And we got VLC player, which I'm happy to see. Nice. And then under settings, these are all the items that are in our settings box. But I just selected panel preferences here. So I want to take a look at appearance here. And this, our default is Scoias or something. I don't know how to pronounce that, but add way to dark is another alternative if you want a different dark or light theme. And personally, I like good old Adwaita, so I think I'm going to just change it to that. Besides that, I want to just change to demonstrate changing themes and icons. So yeah, that's the main purpose. Here I'm going to choose Breeze Dark just to change the icons. However, there's other ones to choose from. Here we got Papyrus Dark, which I think was the default. And then we got Elementary OS icons, and those are nice looking icons as well. Very cool. But I think I'm going to stick with Breeze Dark here. I kind of like that look. And then here we got our different fonts. So if I wanted a different font, I could actually change that, even though the source code Pro looks quite nice. But just for demonstration purposes, I could scroll down here and, for example, maybe for some reason I want to use Ubuntu. So I could change it to the Ubuntu Mono Regular, for example, hit select. And now my default fonts have changed to the Ubuntu font, or Ubuntu. So there you are. Fonts. So easy to change the fonts. And then, of course, the monospace as well. And then here we got our settings. For example, by default, we can show images on our buttons and in the main menus, which I like. So I'm going to leave those checked in. What else do we got here? So back in the menu, I started at accessories. I think I went all the way down to settings. I kind of lost my place there, but yes, I believe settings was where I left off. And I'm going to, hey, I didn't know I could do that. Wow, it's back. That is cool. So now I can expand the whisker menu up and down like I used to. That went away back in 4.18 XFCE, but apparently it was brought back in 4.20. Wow, I am so happy about that. That was something because the developer had a really hard time with Wayland at the time, and apparently that was overcome. Wow, I'm excited. So excited that I almost didn't notice this cool purple font here on the terminal. I like that. That's a really neat theme there, the purple font. And I believe that's Fast Fetch that's running. I got so flustered over the whisker menu expanding like that, I kind of lost myself. But here we can see we're running the XFCE 4.20, I see. And so, yes, very good. I am liking this. And we're running the X11 version here of XFCE, but you can also run Wayland XFCE. That option is also in the login menu there for your session. So either one. Personally, I'm still more partial to X11 because I don't fully trust Wayland, even though it's, for me anyways, it's almost ready, but not quite. Nice. So here's our Chrome settings. I just went in the About here to see what version we're using. And of course, it's the latest and greatest 134.0.6998, I think it was, .88. And here we got our web store by default. So yes, a nice Chromium install. Very good. So I'm going to go ahead and close that utility. Nice job on the utility there, Ben. And here we got our XFCE settings. And in the XFCE settings, I'm going to click on the panel button here. And that'll give me access to the panel. I could just right click there too and select panel and preferences. But just to show you, it's available in the settings as well. By default, the panel is locked, but I can unlock that. If you're a Windows user coming over to XFCE, you might be more comfortable with it on the bottom. So all that takes is unlocking it and dragging it down. So there we go. We got it on the bottom now. For you Windows users, personally, I like it on top, but you know, just to show you it can be done. We can also right click on our start menu and select properties, and we can adjust things in our whisker menu. So for example, if I will go into appearance and let's say I want to position my categories on the left, I can click that there. So maybe if you don't like them on the right-hand side, you can put them on the left, and then it's more consistent with Windows. So if you're a Windows user and you don't like change very much, then having them on the left might be more comfortable for you. Otherwise, just leave it on the right. It's just fine either way. Depends on how fussy you are. Here we got our search menu on top. If I wanted to put that on the bottom, I could check this box, and now it's positioned on the bottom instead. So another nice tweak you could do. Very flexible. So just like XFCE itself, the whisker menu is very flexible. Here's our title, Start. That corresponds to what you're seeing on that button. You could call that anything like My Start Menu. So there you go. Then under behavior, we could, by default, you can see that the categories switch just by hovering the mouse. And I like that that's checked by default. We could also include favorites. So if I check that box, that'll give us a favorites menu item here on our categories. And now you can see all the different things that we used recently, except for the mail. I think that's like a default thing in there. So it's nice to have a favorites. And let's say I wanted to add something to favorites. I could right click on image viewer, for example, and I could add it to the panel. I could add it to auto start, to the desktop, but I'm going to put it on favorites. I just clicked add to favorites, and now it's in our favorites menu. So that's how easy peasy it is to do that. And if I want to put it on the desktop, I can right click on it and select add to desktop, and there it is. Beautiful. Yes, the flexibility of XFCE is just so nice. It's so easy to configure and customize to your liking. I think that's one reason I think XFCE is such an excellent desktop, besides the fact that it's just rock stable. So there you are. And so if we go over to appearance here, we can change the appearance of our panel, like dark mode to light mode, but we're already using a solid color, so it's not actually relying on the theme. Here we got our opacity, and as you can see that our panel is clear, but the opacity is all the way up. Why is that? Because our background style is set to a solid color, and the solid color is actually a semi-opaque color. something that's got transparency, or you could just call it a transparency, I guess. But if we click like something like a semi-dark gray, then it'll become solid because now we click the solid color. Or we could even do like a lighter gray or a silvery color. But you'd probably want a black font with that, I would say. I would kind of go with like a medium gray. I think that would probably be my real choice. Or you could choose some other color like brown. I could hit select there and make that just fine. Actually, brown's kind of a cool color. I kind of like that. Very earthy. Yeah, nice. But yeah, I'm probably going to go with a dark one. You could even use black. You could use blue, anything, even a custom color. If you hit the plus button, you can make whatever color you want. But I think I'm going to go with this more of a charcoal color, this medium gray, medium dark. And then here we got our items tab, and all these items correspond to what you're seeing down there on the panel. So like your whisker menu at the beginning, all the way over to your clock, which is at the end of the last item on your panel down below in your lower right corner. That's very cool. And there should be like a settings panel. Okay, yeah, I just had to scroll down. I rolled my mouse wheel down, and there's our setting panel. And here we could change our clock settings, and you can individually adjust your font for both the date and time, which I think is really a cool features in XFCE. Here we have add. I just click the add button and we can add items to our panel. For example, if you're a Windows user, you're probably used to a show desktop widget in the corner. So I'm going to click show desktop and hit add. And now we have it in our lower right corner. So when I click on it, everything minimizes. And when I click it again, it comes back. So I like it. And we can add something else in here too, like the weather. So I'm going to hit add. And now you can see that by default, it went and added down into the lower right corner. So if I click that and then click settings, I could go in here and set a location. And if I waited long enough, it would actually auto detect it, but I could just type it in up here and just type in the name of your city or town. In my case, a town, hit search and hit OK. And now it'll automatically display the temperature where we're at. And then the scroll box, if I go over here, I want the temperature to show up in the panel. So I'm going to select that and then hit the plus button. And the plus button will put it down there. Now you can see that it's 20 degrees, a nice balmy 20 degrees. And that's Celsius, by the way. So if you want a Fahrenheit, if you're more comfortable with that, we can just kind of, first I'm going to move that over. By the way, I right-clicked on that and selected move. And then you just move your mouse over and click and it'll snap into place. So there you go. But anyways, back to the temperature units there. I can go into our settings and then select units. And then under here, instead of Celsius, we could have Fahrenheit. And that'll show 67 degrees there, which is nice as long as it's not Celsius. So if I hover, you get a nice readout there of the current temperature and so forth. When you click on it, then you get the extended forecast for the next several days. So this is really a great weather app. In my opinion, XFCE probably has the best weather widget out there of any of them. Really like it a lot. It's my favorite, actually. So there you go. That's how you add in a widget. And if you're a Windows user, you're probably comfortable with that show desktop down there in the lower right corner. Yes. So what else in our start menu here? I don't think I looked at system yet. So let's go down to system. And here we got our time shift. That's a nice restore utility. So if you mess up on an update and something goes haywire, you can use time shift to reset back to a previous time. And you'll be good. I just opened up our software center and this looks like Pamac to me. So let me scroll down here and I'm just going to go to the about menu and just take a look. We got a lot of other items there too, but yeah, that's Pamac. So we're using the latest version. So I'm liking that. I'm thinking there should be, let me click categories here. Thinking there should be like little icons here are showing different featured software, little thumbnails, but I'm not seeing the thumbnails. Not sure why they're not coming up. That might be some issue going on with Pamac temporarily, but I'm going to just type something in the search window, and it found Inkscape right away. So it brought it up. I'm just going to select that and install it just to show the installer, and I'm just going to authenticate here, hit authenticate. And then here we got some options for optional dependencies. I like that it comes up and lets you install optional things. Personally, I don't need anything installed in addition to Inkscape, any additional options. So I'm just going with the default here, and it'll just synchronize real quick, install. Here's our transaction summary. So I'm going to apply, let that go. And now we're installing. Excellent. So easy peasy. Personally, I use the console. I just prefer using Pac-Man in the console, and I'll install something real quick a little later in the console just to demonstrate that. But most people are going to prefer a GUI, I think, especially if you're coming over from Windows. Here we can see that Inkscape showed up in our menu now. So that installed successfully, and under install, you can see everything that's been installed by Pamac. So nice to see. And that was your sort button there. And then again, we have repositories. We can show everything that's installed. So that's everything that's on the machine that's installed. Our updates, which is updated, and browse, which I really think that should be showing something. I just hit update repositories there just to see if maybe the database needs to be refreshed, and maybe that'll show the thumbnails there. But no, it didn't. So yeah, I don't know. I think maybe Pamac might be having some kind of issue there. A minor thing. What's really important is that the stuff installs. So yeah, that's what I really care about. But I just kind of wanted to see those thumbnails just because it's prettier. And maybe I'm wrong. I haven't been in Pamac in a while, and I don't really use GUI installers, so I might be thinking of a different installer. Here we got our different preferences, our cast preferences. If you want to have more than 4 parallel downloads, you can add more or take some away if you're strapped for resources. So there you go. That is our Pamac software package manager. And it's a pretty good package manager, but like I said, I've been kind of brought up on the console, so for me it's just quicker because I know what I want to install. But a GUI package manager can be pretty handy if you're looking for something you're not quite sure what it is you're looking for. You can kind of browse some more choices. I'm going to right click here on the desktop and see these items. We got Thunar. You can run Thunar in root mode, which is cool, even with the terminal. I like that. And then open item in a new window, arrange desktop, and then we got applications. So we can even access our application menu right here from a right click. So that's another convenient way to just quickly access an application if for some reason you don't want to move your mouse up to the menu. Very nice. And I went back into our desktop settings because when I changed our wallpaper before, I kind of ignored the other areas, like our menus and our desktop icons. Specifically, the desktop icons are pretty relevant. So here's our icons, and here you can see our size is set at 48 pixels, but I could make them smaller here if you want a smaller icons, or you can make them really big. Maybe it's hard for you to see the desktop or you got a small monitor, so nice to be able to do that. And then here you can adjust your font size, so if you want it bigger than 12 pixels, you could crank them up or make them smaller. I think it was a 12 or maybe it was 11. I can't remember. I didn't pay much attention. Font color, you can change your font color here. So for example, if you wanted it yellow, you can make them yellow. I would probably go with a light blue, but uncheck the box and it'll go back to default. Here you can check this box and it'll give your labels a background. So if you have like maybe a really bright wallpaper or something that's real busy, having a background sometimes can help make it more legible. So that's a nice option to have that you can turn on and off. Show tooltips, you just saw a tooltip, now the tooltips are turned off. I just leave them on. Top left vertical is our default arrangement, but if I wanted to change that, I could hit OK, and then they'll change to horizontal starting from the upper left. Now that warning window you got was to let you know that it's going to change your configuration. And the reason that's important is because if you have a 50 gazillion icons on there and they're all arranged in a specific order, if you change it up here, you're going to lose that specific order. And so they're just kind of letting you know about that. So yeah, now I got them over on the right. So you can have them oriented all kinds of different ways. So that's a really nice feature. Single click to activate items. So if you were to check that, then if you don't like double clicking to launch something off the desktop, you can have single click there instead. And then this corresponds to the icons that are showing by default. And by default, everything that I like showing is already showing. So very cool. So if I wanted to turn off the home folder, I could do that and it disappears. Turn off the trash and it'll disappear, except I didn't see the trash actually. So yeah, I'm not sure where the trash is. Oh well. Anyways, not a big deal. So now I'm going to do sudo pacman-s, and not install though, but I'm going to install HTOP. So this is how you install through the terminal in case you're not familiar. So sudo pacman-uppercase s, and now I'm authenticating here. And then it asks me if I want to proceed. Yes. And there we go. So HTOP should now be installed. I'm just going to type HTOP, and there we go. We can see our resources. So that's how easy it is to install something. And I could have done the same thing with Inkscape. I could have just done sudo pacman-s Inkscape. So 725 megs there of resources of memory, and that's pretty standard for XFCE. That's good. I just typed in yay. That's a wrapper to make installing from the AUR easier. And I typed that in there to see if it's installed, and it is. So that's a nice, easy way to install stuff from the AUR. If you're not familiar with Arch, I recommend always installing things from Pacman if possible to avoid any kind of issues. I brought up fast fetch again because I never did get a chance to look at all this, but we're running XFCE X11 version 4.20, and then our Adwaita cursor and our bash shell. So yes, kernel 6.13.8-arch. Nice on the kernel. Everything's very recent. And I just wanted to see if we were running, fast fetch. I like the whole layout here. So really beautifully done. And I think I covered everything. So I got to say, Ben, wow, you guys did an amazing job here. I really like this AcreetionOS. This is something I think shows a lot of promise. And Acreetion, I feel very comfortable in here. I didn't have to struggle with anything. It just seems very stable, especially for a very first release. I mean, something that's fresh out of the gate, that's pretty amazing. Usually when I do a first look at a first issue distro, something freezes or locks up or something goes haywire, but no, Acreetion is smooth, it feels good, it's snappy, everything just runs great. I got nothing when it comes to criticism. AcreetionOS, like I said on the website there, I think Ben's got other developers as well working on some of the other spins there, like the Cinnamon and the Hyprland and Xmonad. And like I think I said before, I think that's cool that they got an Xmonad spin too. I might even just download that on the side there after I'm done making this video and take a look at it. I'm kind of curious. I'm running Hyprland actually right now, although I'm in XFCE as I'm recording on my own desktop because Wayland sucks with OBS, at least on my machine it does. Can't speak for other people, but Hyprland is something I really like, and I like the fact that the AcreetionOS project here has Hyprland as a Wayland option for a window manager in their community edition. So good on you guys for that as well. Yes, I'm just kind of stumbling over myself, but this distro is really worth taking a look at. If you want to try something a little bit new, you like XFCE or maybe one of the other spins, I think AcreetionOS is a very solid distro. This version 1 here is actually kind of gone above and beyond what I was expecting. So I gotta say, well done, you guys. Easy to work with, runs smooth, no problems in the installer. So absolutely a double thumbs up. Oh, even though I did 3 nuts. And so I guess that wraps up my review for today, and I do hope that review was helpful, and if it was, don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Oh, what do I mean by if it was? Hit the thumbs up anyway. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Subscribing really helps the channel, as well as a thumbs up, of course. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.